This is the fourth year in a row I have done the sophisticated declutter, I call it, and it is a 6-month decluttering challenge where I declutter my entire house in 6 months, and I want to share with you everything that I've learned after I've decluttered my entire space 4 times in a row. Hey, my name is Sophie from Sophisticated Organization. If you're new here, as I mentioned, I run a 6-month decluttering challenge every single year here on YouTube and on my Instagram. If you're interested in doing something like this, I have an ebook that you can find on my website, and it will basically give you the whole rundown on how to declutter your space in 6 months, a schedule, detailed ideas on things you can get rid of, reasoning behind it, some product recommendations, and everything like that, space by space. So make sure to check that out if you want to try doing it right now and you don't want to wait till I start again next year. But I have learned so many things each and every year, and I was thinking about it, the fact that we just finished this up. I have some things I want to share with you. The first one, I've said this time and time again, is decluttering is not a one and done process. That's the reason I've done this 4 years in a row and plan on doing it next year as well, just because you're constantly bringing things into your house. So there's no way to just say, okay, cool, I've decluttered and now I'm done. Because even if you're not going out and purchasing a bunch of things, let's say you do a no buy year for the next year, and you might think, okay, I don't have to do the decluttering again because I didn't buy a bunch of unnecessary things. Even so, your preferences change. So maybe you bring 0 items into your closet, for example, but you could still have preferences that change. You could have clothing that has developed rips in it, clothing that you no longer fit in, whatever it might be. There's still things to declutter, and there's always stuff coming in even if you're not purchasing it. Take, for example, if you have children who are in school, they're constantly bringing papers home with them, artwork, things like that. Even the mail is just bringing more paper into your house. So regardless of what your situation is, decluttering is never a one and done process. The interesting thing I also find with every time I do this is I'm always able to declutter just a little bit more than I was the time before. I wish I was the person that could just do a complete ruthless declutter of my entire house and get it down to being a minimalist. I am not a minimalist. I do want to live with less, and I have all of those mental blocks and barriers that you probably have as you're going through your items and feeling like you want to hold on to things. And one of the huge benefits to doing this year over year is sometimes I'm maybe not ready to make that decision to get rid of a certain item, but when I come back around a year later and I'm going through that exact same space and I'm confronted with that exact same item, thinking the same things I was thinking a year ago, I remember that internal conversation I was having, and I'm probably able to declutter that item a year later, even though I wasn't able to do it the prior year. Yes, I would love to be able to get rid of it on the spot, but sometimes I'm just not at a place where I can do that. Or I also remember if I thought about decluttering something and I want to give myself a shot at using it or wearing it, I realize another year has passed and I haven't done so, then it's much easier to get rid of it that second time around because I haven't done what I set out to do. This next one is interesting because it's something I'm kind of grappling with. While I believe you can declutter your entire house in 6 months, it's a lot of work, hear me out. But I want to mention the fact that some decluttering processes just take a lot of time or take longer than you might think. So that means a couple of different things. Number one, when you are going to declutter and you want to do it the right way to me is taking absolutely everything out of a space and starting with putting back the things that you 100% know that you use, you love, you want to keep, whatever those ideas and factors are for you. And working that way, I think, is the most effective. And that's time consuming, let's be honest. Nobody wants to take absolutely everything out of their closet. Nobody wants to take everything out of their kitchen cabinets or pull everything down from their garage shelves. But I really, really firmly believe that is the best way to do it. There are some other strategies that you can use that take a longer period of time that you might not be able to accomplish in the 6-month decluttering. I'm personally feeling like there are some categories where I want to even do this, where I want to take things out or put them in a bin or put them in a separate area and work backwards and start pulling out the things that I use. And the things that I use, I'm going to keep. And if they aren't used and they stay on a certain side of my closet or stay within a bin and I don't touch them for X amount of time, then I can probably get rid of it. I'm thinking I might still give that a try. And yes, I literally just completed the 6-month declutter, but 6 months has passed since I've touched certain areas of my house, and I want to go back to some of them already. So that kind of rolls into the next one, which is that you're probably never going to be fully satisfied with the state of your home. I think it's a constantly evolving process, and that's not a bad thing. That should motivate you to keep going through your home, never give up on your house and just say it's a lost cause. You want to keep putting in that work, and that little bit of effort, piece by piece by piece, will get you a really long way. Which is also another thing that I have learned over the years, is that a little bit is better than nothing. So some of these weeks that I have gone through my decluttering process, and I've been so busy or I've fallen behind, and it's very easy to just give up or skip a week of decluttering and say, well, whoops, I missed that space, I guess I'll just move on, or I fell behind, so I might as well stop. Resist the urge to do that. I'm telling you, if you just chip away at it, even if you're doing 15 minutes of decluttering a day, you are going to make a major impact on your house. It's going to make a huge difference. And let's say you spread that timeline out and you just are doing 15 minutes a day of decluttering every single day, or you skip a day and then you say, you know what, I'm gonna do 30 minutes the next day, and you keep yourself on this schedule, a little bit goes a long way. This one can be one that we don't love to think about, but you want to start decluttering before you need to start decluttering. Now that can be in a lot of different circumstances. So let's start with a positive need to declutter. A positive need to declutter might be you are moving. And I always suggest that you declutter before you move. It's so much more work to declutter once you get to your new space, and financially, it's more expensive. You don't want to have to pay for moving boxes to move a bunch of stuff you're just going to end up getting rid of. So try and do that before you move, but there's a need to declutter before you move. Another need to declutter might be, unfortunately, if you pass away or you have to maybe downsize your house, have your kids who have left the house and you're moving to a smaller space, and that's another need to declutter. I have my grandparents right now who are kind of going through this, and they're grappling with this. They're thinking about selling their place and are looking at kind of what solutions they want to do as they get a little bit older. And with that, they are looking at all of the stuff they have in their house. My parents have been watching this happen, are also thinking, we don't want to leave a bunch of stuff behind for the next generation to just have to go through all of this junk that we've left behind. And I know a lot of people don't want to be looking at life like that, but it is the reality. These worldly possessions are just items, they're just things, and in the end, it's kind of just gonna end up being somebody else's clutter if you're not taking care of it. And that's not to say that you should get rid of everything you own just in case something terrible happens, of course not, but you don't want to have bins and stuffed closets and things from 30 years ago that you've never looked at. That is going to be a burden for your friends and family members if something were to happen, or yourself, again, if it's a joyous occasion and you need to move and you have to lug all of that stuff with you because you haven't taken the time to declutter it and there's maybe not enough time to do it in the time frame you have. Okay, so I just kind of mentioned the idea of having a space that you've never opened in 20 or 30 years. I feel so much peace knowing that every single space in our house, I know exactly what's in there. I know that within the last year, I have pulled everything out. I have gone through every single item in every single space of our house, and I highly, highly recommend that you do that at least once a year. I am so fortunate that my husband shares a little bit of the same brain that I do in terms of organization and decluttering. I'll be honest, he's probably a little bit neater and cleaner than I am, and he probably prefers to live with less than I do, but the two of us will go through our house, honestly, just top to bottom, and we will go room by room and just kind of give a quick scan, like, okay, let's open these cabinets. Do we both know what's in here? Is there anything we can get rid of? And it's not a deep declutter necessarily, but it is a quick rapid fire, almost maintenance declutter. And the maintenance declutter is something that you just cannot overlook. It really helps keep us in check and feel like we have a grip on our space, and we will never be the people that have cabinets or bins or boxes that we have never opened for years and years and years, because we do this together and we do a deeper dive at least once a year. This time around, I had a first. So I always am of the thought and belief that, you know what, if you get rid of something, you're not going to regret it. I've been saying that before I've had kids and before I've had kids that were old enough to express themselves. This year, that's different. We have a 2.5-year-old who's talking and he can express his needs. And my husband and I went through all of his toys and decided to get rid of a few things that we felt were bulky or weren't maybe benefiting his learning. We just had too many toys, whatever the case might be. We got rid of this one toy that was just like pretty big. It was bright, obnoxious colors. I hated the sounds that it made and it really wasn't doing any benefit. I honestly don't even know what the toy really was supposed to be doing. And I don't know where this came from. He had not played with it in, I can't even tell you how long. He asked to play with the toy. And he was so fixated on finding it and knowing where it was. And we had to just be like, I think that one was broken, or I don't know, where did that one go? And it was not easy in the moment because he was pretty upset and really wanted to play with it. But we worked past it, we diverted, we distracted, and since then he hasn't asked about it again, and I think we've moved past the moment. So I still stick with the belief that for the most part, you personally are not going to regret decluttering anything. There's never been something I've personally decluttered where I've been like, oh shoot, I wish I still had that thing that I got rid of. I've never had that. But with kids, I still don't think we've had that moment. We had a little brief pause where we questioned things, but then, you know, again, it's probably different having a 2.5-year-old versus a 12-year-old or something. You want to have them involved in the process of decluttering things. You don't want to just get rid of their stuff without their consent. Different for a 2.5-year-old or a young toddler. But I think we moved past that, and I still feel like when you declutter something, very, very rarely are you going to regret that decision. I've also started to move towards the feeling of quality versus quantity. I think I've started kind of feeling this a little bit as I get older, and I've watched some things that I've purchased that are just not as high of quality, and that does not mean that they are more expensive versus less expensive. It's more about the quality of the item. Sometimes there's such a temptation just to have more of something, and more seems like better, but oftentimes it is actually better to have a couple of quality sweaters versus 30 sweaters. You're not gonna wear every single sweater, or like if you have plain black t-shirts like this, I probably only need one, maybe two, because guess what? I do laundry. And that is another thing that I have kind of come to discover through these years of decluttering, is that you don't need multiples of absolutely everything, because things go in the dishwasher, things go in the laundry. If you think about whatever the item is, are you going to be using multiple items at the exact same time? If not, you probably don't need duplicates. And the duplicate conversation, I feel like all of these are rolling into each other, but the duplicate conversation brings me to Backstock. I have evolved in my feelings on Backstock. A lot of times I like to purchase things when they are on sale, because who doesn't? I want to buy things that I know I'm going to need when they are cheaper, as opposed to waiting to buy them full price. Let's give an example here. So again, I have 2 kids, and when I found out that I was pregnant with baby number 2 and Costco was having a diaper sale, I loaded up on extra diapers for our older child and for our second baby, which at that point was not born yet. And I stand by that Backstock decision, because I know 100% we are going to use diapers. We're not going to randomly stop using diapers, with the exception of a toddler being potty trained, which we were very conscious not to purchase too much. But that idea doesn't apply to everything. A lot of times I'll be tempted to buy backup cleaning products, or backup food items, or backup bathroom products. And with those, a few things can happen. Number one, your preferences can change, your taste can change, your needs can change. So if you have a bunch of Backstock, you might finish that product and you get to your Backstock item and realize, hey, I don't want a second or third or fourth one of these. I'm kind of overusing this. Then purchasing the Backstock when it was on sale ends up actually costing you more money, because you have this additional item that you don't even want to use anymore. The other thing that can happen is expiration dates, whether it's beauty products, sometimes cleaning products, especially food items. You might over or underestimate how quickly you can use things up. And if you don't use it as quickly as you thought you were going to, you might end up having Backstock items that actually expire before you can get to them. So I have tried to reduce the amount and type of Backstock items that I purchase. There are certain categories, again, where if I know 100% it is something that I am going to use, I have used over and over again, I've used for years, or an example like diapers, it's a necessity and there's a need. So like, for example, toilet paper or paper towels, we use all of those. We're not going to stop using them. I don't need to buy 30 cases of toilet paper just because I know we're always going to use toilet paper. Think about the sales that are coming up too. Example with the diapers again, Costco does a sale on diapers. I believe it's twice a year. So I don't need to be buying 2 years worth of diapers if I can just catch the next sale in 6 months. So I want to get a supply that will get me to the next time it will likely be on sale. The last thing I'll say, as somebody who personally feels very motivated, this is my whole thing. I love organizing, I love decluttering, but motivation can be really difficult sometimes. And that is evidenced by the fact that I have run this challenge through social media and tried to bring you along with me. I know for a fact there's a large percentage of you that just kind of fall off as the weeks go on. And it's almost like a diet. A lot of times people will start a diet and they fall off of it. But the weird thing about decluttering is it's not like a diet where people say, okay, starting Monday, I'm gonna start over and I am going to work really hard starting the first of the month or whatever it might be. A lot of times in the organizing world, we have people start January, but very rarely throughout the middle of the year are there times when people kind of jump back on the bandwagon. And I would highly encourage you, if you're watching this, to have, Monday be your Monday or tomorrow be your start to this, and do what I've been saying. Do 15 minutes a day or hit it even harder and do this major decluttering project in your house. You can do it whatever way works best for you, but you have to find that internal drive and that internal why you're decluttering. What are you looking to get out of this? And to use that as your guiding light and to not give up, even if you have setbacks along the way, even if there's something that comes up and you don't declutter for a couple of weeks, because that's going to happen to all of us. You don't need to make this consume your life. If you are decluttering every single day, like I said, don't do it for more than like 15 minutes or else you're probably going to end up with nothing, or you're going to have a very, very neat house, which is exactly what we're looking for, I guess. But find that why, find that motivating factor and let it guide you through this process. I would love to hear from you if you did participate in the 6-month declutter, or if you have just decluttered your house in the past and you have some lessons that you've learned. Share them in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and until next time, I will see you all later.